Hello everyone, I am the leader of the group 4 and our assigned story is about the tale of Abu Hassan and the fart taken from 1001 Nights. But before we proceed to the discussion of the story and its elements, let us first unlock some unfamiliar words that are found in the story. First on the list is Mesri. Misery is a state of great unhappiness and emotional distress. For example, the joy and misery of life. Another example would be the last years of her life were misery. Number two is keen, intellectually alert. So she is a keen student. Number three, wit, a person of superior intellect. Number four, eligible or qualified to participate or be chosen. So, for example, he is an eligible young bachelor. Another example, I want to participate in the contest, but I'm not eligible yet. So, eligible means qualified to participate or be chosen. Next is sherbets, a cold drink of sweetened and diluted fruit juice. Number 6, salad, to leap out or burst forth suddenly. For example, he sallied forth to the balcony. 7, turquoise, a light greenish blue. For example, the bride wears a turquoise gown. So, the bride wears a light greenish blue gown. Next is lavish, expended or produced in abundance. For example, what a lavish home. So lavish, expended or produced in abundance. Another would be a lavish feast. So listen. Number 9 is merriment, a lively celebration or party. Merriment, the root word of this is merry, means joy or happy. So, for example, it is a time, or Christmas is a time of great joy and merriment. So, lively celebration or party. Next is incorruptibility, incapable of being bribed or morally corrupted. For example, he was trusted, respected because of his incorruptibility. Next is 11, and sobriety, lack of sobriety or moderation. Number 12 is fortuitous. It means coming or happening by a lucky chance. So for example, from a cost standpoint, the company's timing is fortuitous. So those are the unfamiliar words and its meaning that we can find in the story later. So by unlocking those unfamiliar words, we can now understand the story easily. We just have finished unlocking some unfamiliar words in the story, and now, without further ado, I will be going to introduce to you the story or the tale about Abu Hassan and the fart taken from 1001 Nights or Arabian Nights. So, although it was ancient wisdom that marriage was joy for a month and a misery for a life, yet everyone agreed that Abu Hassan should marry. With a healthy personal fortune, a keen wit, and a generous heart, he was quite the most eligible bachelor in Baghdad. But when his friends would reproach him for remaining single, he would reply, "Far be it from me to take to my chest a sack full of snakes. I am free. Why then become slave?" And he'd order another round of wine, and all would drink to his health. So Abu Hassan The story is about Abu Hassan, despite being wealthy and well liked, was not interested in getting married. He believed that marriage only brought temporary happiness for a short period of time, but would lead to lifelong unhappiness. His friends would often criticize him for his decision, but he would always defend himself. So Abu Hassan would respond to his friends' criticism by saying he didn't want to invite trouble into his life by getting married. He compared marriage to holding a bag full of snakes, something that would bring discomfort and restrict his freedom. Instead, he preferred to live a carefree and independent life. So, to celebrate his decision, he would invite his friends for another round of wine and they would toast to his well being. But whether the pressure of loneliness as he aged began to weigh heavy on him, or whether it was the desire to have a son to continue the family name, when matchmakers approached him with news that the daughter of the governor was seeking marriage, he finally agreed to wed and all rejoiced with exceeding joy. So as Abu Hassan grew older, the burden of loneliness and the longing to have a son to carry the family name began to affect him. Additionally, when matchmakers inform him that the governor's daughter are interested in marriage, um, he felt compelled to accept the proposal. Despite his previous reluctance, Abu Hassan finally agreed to get married, and his decision brought immense happiness and joy to everyone involved. So, a fabulous ceremony was prepared, the greatest Baghdad has seen in many years. The tables were laden with chicken stuffed with pistachios, whole roast goats with fresh dates in their mouths, walnut and cream pastries, and any number of sherbets and sweets. The finest musicians in the land played throughout the day, and in the evening, Abu Hassan sallied forth on the balcony to cast gold coins out to the waiting hands of the poor people gathered outside. So Abu Hassan planned a grand ceremony in the city, and the preparations for the event are luxurious, with tables filled with delicious food such as stuffed chickens, roast goats, pastries, and a variety of refreshing drinks. The finest musicians are hired to entertain the guests throughout the day, and in the evening, Abu Hassan appears on a balcony and starts throwing gold coins to the poor people who have gathered outside in anticipation. This act of generosity shows Abu Hassan's willingness to help those in need. Then, as he and his friends reclined in silk cushions with ebony pipes of the finest honey tobacco, the bride was brought forth wearing the first of 7 dresses, and behold, she was as lovely as the moon at its fullest, wrapped in a turquoise gown dripping with gems and silver. Each following dress she wore was more lovely than the last, until she finally appeared in a simple white dress with a necklace of pearls around her smooth neck, her lips like a piece of coral, and her eyes putting the stars to shame. So after the generous act of giving, Abu Hassan and his friends relaxed in comfortable silk cushions while smoking pipes filled with exquisite honey tobacco. And meanwhile, the bride of the ceremony makes her entrance, dressed in the first of the 7 stunning dresses, and her beauty is compared to the full moon, captivating everyone's attention. So as the bride continues to change into each succeeding dress, she becomes even more breathtakingly beautiful. Each dress surpasses the previous ones in elegance and charm, leaving the spectators in awe. Finally, she appears in a simple white dress adorned with a necklace of pearls, highlighting her flawless neck, and her lips are likened to a piece of coral, and her eyes are so many mesmerizing that they outshine the stars themselves. So she retired to the lavish bedroom chamber to coyly await the arrival of her husband. Abu Hassan, however, could not yet bear to forsake his guests and entertain them with a great store of stories and wit, tempered with sober reflections on the spiritual and politic, increasing his esteem in their eyes and giving all cause of merriment and reflection. At last, when his duty as host was fulfilled, Abu Hassan felt the juice of desire stir within him, and he rose to bid his guest good night, so that he might join his bride beneath the silken sheets of the conjugal bedchamber. But alas, he had eaten and drunk so heavily that as he raised himself from the cushions, he could not help but release a loud and thundering fart that echoed from wall to wall and silenced every voice in the room. So after fulfilling his duties as a host, Abu Hassan's desire started to arise, and he decides to bid his guest good night and join his bride in the conjugal bedchamber. However, there is an turning or unexpected and embarrassing turn of events. Due to his indulgence in the abundant food and drink, Abu Hassan finds himself unable to control a loud and powerful fart as he tries to rise from the cushions. The sound reverberates throughout the room, causing a sudden silence and drawing everyone's attention to the awkward situation. So his friends at once began talking again, pretending that they hadn't noticed, and Abu Hassan. His friends at once began talking again, pretending they hadn't noticed, and Abu Hassan quickly slipped away in the direction of the bedchamber, but then dashed down another corridor out of a side door to the house, saddled his favorite horse, and rode all the way to Basra at top speed. There he boarded a ship bound for the east, and set sail that night, gazing back at his homeland with tears in his eyes until the horizon swallowed the view. So, after Abu Hassan found himself in an embarrassing situation where he led a loud fight, he avoided further embarrassment, and he pretended as if nothing happened and quickly made his way towards the bedchamber. However, instead of going there, he took another route and hurriedly left the house through a side door, and Abu Hassan went to his favorite horse, saddled it, and rode as fast as possible to Basra. Once in Basra, he didn't waste any time and boarded a ship that was heading to the east. As he sailed away, he looked back at his homeland with tears in his eyes. So Abu Hassan landed in India, and by virtue of his gift for languages, impeccable manners, and irreproachable character, he soon secured himself a position in the service of a local Raja, winning himself a reputation for incorruptibility and sobriety, and never so much as left his quarters at night to take a pipe with other men, and he soon rose in their ranks until he was responsible for the discipline and welfare of the Raja's personal guard. So, after arriving in India, Abu Hassan's talents in language, manners, and his character quickly caught the attention of the locals. He secured a position in the service of a local Raja due to his exceptional qualities. Abu Hassan developed a strong reputation for his incorruptibility and sobriety. He remained dedicated to his duties, never seen leaving his quarters at night to socialize with others. Due to his commitment, he climbed the ranks swiftly, eventually becoming responsible for monitoring discipline and taking care of the well-being of the Raja's personal guard. But though he was loved and respected by all in the court, Abu Hassan was never seen to so much as smile, and when, Of an evening he would climb to the highest battlement to gaze west in the direction of his homeland, and sigh heavily. The servants knew better than to disturb him, and all assumed he was a great man living under a cloud. So, although Abu Hassan had gained the love and respect of everyone in the court, he had an air of melancholy around him. Unlike others, he never appeared to smile, and in the evening he would climb in the highest battlement of the palace, and look west towards his homeland. He would sigh heavily during these times, an impression of burdened soul. The servants had learned not to disturb him during these moments, believing that he was a great man who carried some undisclosed sorrow with him. So at last, after 10 years, despite the first regret of the Raja in losing such a valuable servant, Abu Hassan packed Abu Hassan packed his few belongings and declared that he would return to his native country. He boarded a ship bound for Basra and could barely sleep for the entire voyage, riddled with anxiety to his reception back home. So after 10 years, Abu Hassan decided to return to his native country, and the Raja was sad to see him go, and Abu Hassan had been because Abu Hassan had been a valuable servant. Abu Hassan packed his belongings and boarded a ship to Basra. Throughout the journey, Abu Hassan was restless and couldn't sleep because he was worried about how he would be received back home. So, once on land, once on land, he rode to Baghdad. He rode to Baghdad, but paused at the outskirts of the city, suddenly too afraid to enter. For days he wandered around the hills, hoping to learn by some fortuitous circumstance whether his reputation was still intact. When at last he came across a shepherd's hut one night and heard a mother putting her child to sleep. So he pressed his ear to the side of the hut and heard the child ask, "Mother, when was I born?" So the child asked, "Mother, when was I born?" "Oh, that's easy, my dear," the mother laughed. "You were born in the year that Abu Hassan fighted." And with these words, hope died in his heart forever, and he fled to the land and was never seen again. And that brings us to an end. So again, the story is the tale of Abu Hassan and the fight. So it centers on a man who flees his country following the embarrassment of having farted at his own wedding. When he returned 10 years later, he discovers that his fart has become so famous that it's being used as part of the calendar as a way of dating other events. So Abu Hassan, um, when he overhears the conversation of a child and her mother, hope died in his heart. Kay Abiniyag, intact pa Japon ang iyang reputation after what happened, but wala na jud ay. Nadaot iyang reputation tungod sa iyang fight at his own wedding. So again, I hope you enjoyed the funny and entertaining story about the tale of Abu Hassan and the fight, and I hope you learned something from it. So at this point, my group mates will discuss to you the elements of the story, the setting, the character, the plot, the theme, and the POV. So that's all. Thank you.
Setting: the story is typically set in the city of Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate during the Islamic Golden Age. Baghdad was a major center for trade, culture, and intellectual pursuits during this period. The characters: Abu Hazan, he is the main character in the story, known for his unfortunate circumstances and the humorous incident involving a park. The Caliph, or Caliph Harun al-Rashid, The Caliph is a recurring character in many Arabian Nights tales. He is the ruler of the Baghdad and often appears in various stories. Interacting with common people is distinguished. The Vizier, the Caliph's chief advisor and minister, often a key figure in the political structure of the stories.
Good day to each and everyone. So my name is Janik F. Garson, and now let's head to the conflict of the story. In the tale of Abu Hassan and the Fart, the conflict arises when Abu Hassan attends a dinner party hosted by the governor. During the feast, Abu Hassan accidentally releases a loud and embarrassing fart. Mortified by the incident, he decides to leave the city and live in seclusion. Fearing the humiliation and ridicule he would face from the townspeople, this conflict revolves around Abu Hassan's embarrassment as his subsequent delusion to isolate himself from society. So the tale of Abu Hassan and the Fart is a humorous story from the collection of the Arabian Nights, also known as 1001 Nights. So the conflict arises when Abu Hassan attends a dinner party hosted by the governor. He accidentally passes a gas loudly, which is he farts. That embarrass him greatly. Feeling humiliated, Abu Hassan flees to India and lives there for 10 years. Eventually, he decides to return to his hometown, but he discovers that his fart become a well-known and is remembered by everyone. So, because of this, Abu Hassan returned to his self-imposed exile in India. The type of conflict in the story of Abu Hassan and the Fart is man versus society. What do you mean by man versus society? So this is an external conflict where a character clashes with the values, norms of expectation or society. As you can see in the story, it revolves around Abu Hassan embarrassment to the people who are in the party, and because of that, he attempts to escape the shame caused by his part. So that is why the type of conflict is man versus society, and that's all for my part. Thank you and God bless.
Hey everyone, I am Eva Marie Abelia. So we're going to discuss about the plot analysis. So in the plot analysis, first we have the exposition. So Abu Hassan, a wealthy and a witty bachelor in Baghdad, was known for his aversion to marriage. Despite societal pressure, he enjoyed his freedom and refused to be tied down. However, as he grew older, the weight of loneliness and the desire for a son to carry on his family name began to affect him. When matchmakers informed him that the governor's daughter was seeking marriage, he finally agreed to it. A grand ceremony was organized and everyone celebrated with great joy. So that was in the exposition. So next we have here the rising action. In the rising action, on the night of his wedding, it comes time for Abu Hassan to go to the bridal chamber. Slowly and solemnly, he rose from his divan. But, horrors of horrors, being bloated with meat and drink, he let go a long and resounding fart. Abu Hassan was so mortified with shame that he wished the ground would open up and swallowed him. He mumbled a feeble excused, and instead of going to the bridal chamber, he went straight to the courtyard, saddled his horse, and rode off into the night, weeping bitterly.
Good day, everyone. I am Barbie Inswaner, and this time, let us move forward to the climax of the story. So, the climax of the story is when Abu Hassan, after a grand wedding ceremony, accidentally releases a loud and thundering fart in front of his guests and friends just as he is about to retire to the conjugal bedchamber with his beautiful bride. This embarrassing and humorous incident leads to his sudden and impulsive decision to flee his homeland, never to return. So we all know that climax is the point in the narrative where the tension, excitement, or stakes reach the highest level. The climax of the story occurs when Abu Hassan, having finally agreed to marry the daughter of the governor, is at the peak of his wedding celebration. The grand ceremony has taken place in Baghdad with lavish feasts, music, and a beautiful bride adorned in 7 stunning dresses. So all of his friends and guests are gathered around, and the anticipation for his wedding night is high. So when Abu Hassan prepares to leave the festivities and join his bride in the conjugal bedchamber, a sudden and unexpected event changes the course of his life. Due to the heavy indulgence in the food and drink, he experienced a loud and thundering fart that resounds throughout the room. So his friends and guests are momentarily stunned into silence, but then they quickly pretend not to have noticed the fart of Abu Hassan. So when Abu Hassan, embarrassed and mortified by the situation, decides to make a hasty exit, he excuses himself and leaves a celebration. However, instead of proceeding to his bride as expected, he makes a sudden and impulsive decision to flee his homeland entirely. But this humorous and embarrassing of Abu Hassan incident served as the turning point in the story because it highlights the vulnerability of Abu Hassan, his fear of facing humiliation, his inability to confront the consequences of his actions that may lead to his hasty departure from Baghdad, and sets the stage for the remainder of his adventure in India, where he reinvites himself and lives a different life. So this climax of the story is pivotal because it triggers the main conflict of the story. When Abu Hassan decides to escape his past and find a new identity in a distant land, it's a moment of humor and humiliation that ultimately shapes the trajectory of his life.
So good day everyone, my name is Alvarez Mary Jane, and today I am going to discuss to you my assigned tasks, which are the following action and the resolution or the NOMA. For the following action, after Abu Hassan flees his homeland and lands in India, where he eventually secures a position in the service of a local Raja, he spends 10 years there, earning respect and a reputation for his sobriety and discipline. Throughout this time, he remains melancholic and distant, often gazing westward toward his homeland. So, Abu Hassan landed in India, and by virtue of his gift for languages, impeccable manners, and irreproachable characters, he soon secured himself a position in the services of local Raja, winning himself a reputation for incorruptibility and sobriety. For the resolution or the NOMA, when after a decade in India, Abu Hassan decides to return to his native country, which is Baghdad. However, upon his return, he hesitates to enter the city, fearing how he is perceived. He encountered with a shepherd's hut, where a child asked about their birth year, and it answered with a reference to Abu Hassan's embarrassing incident, served as the final revelation that his reputation is forever tarnished. This realization leads to his ultimate decision to flee the land and vanish, never to be seen again. So after 10 years, despite the first regret of the Raja in losing such a valuable servant, Abu Hassan packed his few belongings and declared that he would return to his native country, which is Baghdad. He boarded a ship bound for Basra and would barely sleep for the entire voyage, riddled with anxiety to his reception back home.
Good day everyone, my name is Hista Darlene, and today I am going to discuss to you The theme and the POV of the story, the tale of Abu Hassan and the POV is the third person point of view. This story is told from a third person point of view. This perspective allows the narrator to provide an objective account of the events and the characters and the story. So, the narrator is not a character in the story but an outside observer who can describe all the characters and the events. This point of view provides a broader perspective of the story, allowing the reader to understand the feelings and motivations of all the characters, not just Abu Hassan. It enables the reader to empathize with Abu Hassan's plight and appreciate the humorous and moral aspects of the story. The theme of the tale of Abu Hassan and the fort can be interpreted as the consequences of one's actions and the fear of a social judgment. The story highlights how simple, embarrassing incident can have a significant impact of an individual's self-esteem and perception in society. It explores the theme of shame and the lengths one might go to avoid humiliations. Additionally, it touches upon the idea of societal expectations and the fear of being judged by others. Ultimately, the tale emphasizes the importance of self-acceptance and ability to overcome embarrassment and move forward in life. So, the theme of the tale of Abu Hassan and the fort primarily revolves around the concept of societal judgment and the impact of one's actions. So, in the story, this is a short review or short discussion in the story of Abu Hassan. Just the highlights of the story. So, Abu Hassan, the protagonist, experiences a highly embarrassing incident at his own wedding, which leads him to flee from his hometown. This illustrates how a single event can greatly affect an individual's self-perception and their standing within society. The story also explores the length one might go to avoid further embarrassment, demonstrating the powerful influence of societal norms and expectations. However, the tale concludes on an uplifting note, emphasizing the importance of self-acceptance and the resilience in the face of adversity.